It's the start of week 6, and we're almost halfway to your first competition in the FTC DECODE season. By the end of today's video, you should have a plan on how you can have the most success for your first qualifying competition. You do not want to be making major adjustments, because every adjustment you make now means your programmers don't have time and your drivers don't have time to be able to find success in the actual first competition. I'm Coach Pratt, and I've been teaching Robotics 9 for over a decade now, and I've led FTC teams to winning national championships. And today we're going to go through the exact things that your builders, your programmers, and your outreach team needs to do to be able to find success in week 6. So this is a pretty pivotal week for you, in that this is what I consider to be the design pivot deadline. And this isn't to say that this is the pivot for the rest of the season, that your robot has to stay like this for the rest of the season. But if your competition is at the end of week 12 or at week 12, and you are not having a robot holistic design by the end of this week, I think you might run into some problems. So here's what I suggest in the build team. It's the final week to make major changes to your first competition design, and it's time to commit to a design. And the reason I say you should commit to a design is because you are working on a team, and this is not just a solo endeavor. This is a team effort, and your programmers need time and your drivers need time. So you are going to take this week and decide, what is our robot going to look like, function like, and do for our first competition? That's the goal by the end of this week. So you need to know, are you going a flywheel? Are you going a double flywheel? Are you going a dual horizontal, a dual vertical? Are you doing a single wheel launcher? Are you doing a catapult? After this time, you do not want to be making major adjustments, because every adjustment you make now means your programmers don't have time and your drivers don't have time to be able to find success in the actual first competition for this week. So commit to your design, and after that, it's time to focus on some refinements and making more robust versions and catting out those first mechanisms, those sub-mechanisms for this competition. That does not mean perfect. That means good enough so that you can programmers get them consistent, get them working reliably. So start going to that CAD, see off of those previous weeks where you're trying to make those adjustments and make them more robust, what other changes do you have to make this week? Start CADing that out so that with the goal of next week to be able to actually start building and assembling some of these. But we all know how much time that takes. Moving over to the programming team, it's time, once you have worked with your build team and said, okay, this is the direction we're going to go, it's now time to start writing that control logic for all those individual mechanisms. You should have some boilerplate code for what your actual mechanisms are going to be. If you're using a flywheel launcher, you should have some sort of RPM calculation inside there. Maybe using a distance sensor, hopefully you're using camera vision inside of this. So now's the time to start taking a look at what are those designs going to be, and how can I actually start making some boilerplate code in some separate mechanism classes so I can use them and reuse them in my auto and teleop phases. This should allow you to, once that robot is assembled, to actually start building some of that and testing some of those designs right away, which should be an excellent way of just kind of hitting the ground running. For the outreach team, now is a good time to check in with your long-term outreach project. If you're helping out with an FLL team, if you're helping out with some sort of STEM community sensor, if you're helping another team work through their outreach points, it's time to check in with this project and have a little bit of feedback and say, okay, what is working well? Are we working towards our goals? You should document your sponsor contacts and any sort of commitments that they've received at this point, because hopefully at week 6, you're now getting into some sponsor opportunities, and you have had some sponsor opportunities reach back. If you haven't had some, now is a good time to follow up with sponsors. A phrase that I like to use with an email, if nobody ever get back to you, is something along the lines of, have you given up on resolving this, or have you given up on working with this? I find that it works really well, and it's an awesome technique I learned from Robert Cialdini for helping your emails actually get a response, especially because sometimes when you're cold calling an outreach, it can make it a little challenging to get real emails back. Now is also a good time to look into your awards and say, okay, what awards are we a little light on right now? What awards are we not presently making the mark for on the sort of team attribute awards for your sustain, for your outreach, and for your connect award. I think they removed motivate, but connect. Whatever those three terminologies are on the team attributes one, think about what awards have you hit the requirements for, what awards you're still working towards, and start making some of those documentation phases. So by the end of the week, you should have your CAD hopefully done. You should have your control logs hopefully done, and you should have some of that engineering journals set up, as well as some sponsorship set up, so you're moving towards into the future. Again, keep in mind, this does not mean that your design is set in stone for the rest of the season. It just means that hopefully you have enough data now that you should have a robust enough design to be able to perform well in the first competition, because robots that perform well are robots that are consistent. Robots can do one thing really, really well. Does not mean you have to be able to do every single thing in this competition. If you'd like to get some more resources, code snippets, CAD files, some tutorials that I run, as well as have some early access content and some one-on-one Q&A with myself, you can consider joining the community down below. Otherwise, best of luck out there this season, and I hope you do well on your next Robotics project.